there's bigger fish to fry and talk about. Not even to. Oddly enough, someone does eat fish in this movie, but it's not Godzilla. There's no "that's a lot of fish" line this time around. But there is a scene where Kong is on the aircraft carrier and eats a whole bunch of fish, and I was like, "Is that a reference to the bad guys?" I'm thinking too much about this. Not gonna lie, this news makes me really, really happy. Not because I loved Godzilla vs. Kong. I thought it was fine. It was good. It's probably exactly what the box office needed, though, as Godzilla vs. Kong in its opening weekend has grossed $48.5 million. Now, normally, we don't talk that much about box office here unless it's like Endgame setting the weekend record like all time. However, this is the single biggest opening for a movie since the pandemic. This is way over exceeding people's estimations. Like, some people were going, if they're lucky, they'll get 40 million, and we're closer to 50. And I think worldwide, this movie's closing in on $300 million very, very quickly. This is the first major spark of hope to me in the return of the movie-going experience. Like, we are getting back to the movies sooner rather than later. I think this just demonstrates that people really want to get back to the movies, but it's also, I think, a whole bunch of factors coming together all at once of, you've got a big movie that people demand to see in the theaters with two huge monsters. You've got vaccines rolling out. My first shot is tomorrow. I was able to get an appointment scheduled for that. Heather's already had her first appointment because being a teacher. So I think this is absolutely great news. But it also is great news for potentially the future of the Monsterverse. But we'll dive into that in a little bit later for like a second half of this. But Josh, you see the numbers. Good, bad? What say you?
No, I'm with you, man. It's any money coming into the movie industry right now is good money. Okay, I'm gonna say that, but obviously there's times when it's not good money. But opening weekend is very promising. Like close to 50 million. Like, bro, like let's go.
For context, Godzilla versus King of the Monsters made about that with no pandemic.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very promising. I think it's a combination of people are finally starting to be able to go out and actually see content and stuff like that. But also, this is like a movie that a good amount of people have been waiting for. So, and to be fair, in some ways, while they haven't been quote unquote built over 3 movies, it's been almost expected as an eventuality over 3 movies.
Yeah, I thought going into this, I felt pretty confident that this is the end because if I remember serves, like, didn't they do like a 3-movie contract with Toho to do Godzilla or something like that?
Yeah,
like, I felt like this was the end. However, these numbers are pretty promising considering all the limitations. Like, this movie had an uphill climb of Godzilla King of the Monsters was not received well. Strike 1. You launch your movie in the middle of a pandemic. Strike 2. There's a third one that I had. Oh, it also releasing on HBO Max the same day. Theoretically, that should be strike 3, but instead, it's hit a homer in proportion to the world we live in right now. This has to be a great sign. I think this could bring talks back to the table of continuing this universe. Without dipping too much into spoilers, there's definitely still stories to tell with these characters. I don't really know Kong villains too much. Typically, the villain in Kong movies is humanity. But Godzilla, there's still some options out on the table for him to deal with, and also where we leave Kong, there could be some interesting story directions that you go there. So, a few months ago, I would have said this is pretty definitively the end of the Monsterverse before we maybe get a reboot down the road. I could see this continuing depending on how long this has legs for, and honestly, looking at the calendar, this is going to have legs for a while because I think it's going to go unchallenged for quite a bit because you've got Mortal Kombat coming out this month, but that money is going to the same exact studio. it's an R-rated movie, but also I don't think Mortal Kombat will reach the same audience as like Godzilla vs. Kong, which is much more mainstream.
It's broader. Yeah, and I mean, like, as excited as we all are for like a good looking Mortal Kombat movie, it's gonna be. I think some are waiting to hear how it is before they make any kind of commitment to go see it at a theater.
Yeah, I think what I will do with Mortal Kombat is exactly what I did with Godzilla vs. Kong, which is I'll see Mortal Kombat at home just because I don't think it really necessitates like being seen on the big screen. I could be wrong. I haven't seen the movie to know. But yeah, this has to be a good sign. And I remember seeing all the memes when this movie came out, and it makes me happy because it's so very, very true. Of Christopher Nolan thought Tenet would be the movie to save the world, but instead it's a hairy man and a lizard man punching each other in the face with bright lights and really heavy bass. Also, the more I think about it, I think it's funny that in all the trailers you have that line from Alexander Skarsgård, "We need Kong. The world needs Kong." I'm going, are you saying that? Or is the box office saying that? Because right now,
it's a box office.
Right now, Godzilla and Kong are the saviors of the box office, just like they are in the movie. This is a great sign. It's great to be saying positive things. Like, yes, we have some rather bizarre delays that we're not going to get too deep into today, but like a whole bunch of movies got delayed by a week, which is weird, but as a whole, I think the days of delays are done. And I think I was listening to the John Campea show, and he brought up, and I completely agree, Disney right now is probably shooting themselves in the foot or reevaluating themselves, going, do we really need to do a day-and-date release with Black Widow on Disney Plus with premiere access and theatrical? Because if Godzilla vs. Kong is making this with both, what if we do all in on the theater going experience? Because premiere access has not worked for us. Could you see that changing at all, Josh? Or do you think Disney, being the greedy people that they are, still want to do both?
They're gonna do both because premiere access, don't you know, is the answer to all of our money problems. This is I don't know, dude. I think you and I have been very vocal about how much we hate the premiere access because it doesn't make sense. B, it's an obvious cash grab. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. Like, why pay, especially in this situation now? Why? Because HBO Max is not charging people extra, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, you would have Disney be like, hey guys, y'all can pay $30 to have access to watch Black Widow, or pay $10 a person to go to a theater, and if you don't want to do that, wait a month and watch it for free. It's almost like using premiere access to drive people to go see it in the theater, which is like sounds smart, but really stupid at the same time.
Yeah, it's Chapek going, well, in the changing landscape of the movie-going experience, blah, 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 money, 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 like Mr. Potato Head in the first Toy Story. I just can't stand Chapek, and yeah, getting back to good news, this has to be a good omen. We don't know how Mortal Kombat will do later this month. I don't think it will do as well as Godzilla vs. Kong, but how the vaccines are rolling out, 2 to 3 weeks can make a big difference with a box office. So maybe maybe Mortal Kombat could be a $30 to $40 million opening weekend, in which case in this landscape, that's a success. To me, this just means somewhat close to normalcy, which is a great thing.
Absolutely.